Wearing a suit. Drink water. Don't drink and drive.
Game over!
Take it light. Okay.
Now you're more fluent.
He's got three!
Up, Bears. So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Welcome back to Texas Rangers with the Boys. We are the Boys, your daily Texas Rangers podcast by a couple of pro wrestlers who love Rangers baseball. And we want to thank you for making us the first listen of your day. This is your boy Kev, a.k.a. YBK, Kevin Frazier. Man, oh man. It was a weekend for sure. Rangers go on the road to New York, have a hard-fought series loss to the Yankees out there in the Bronx. I really felt like the team gave it everything they had. Just things didn't go their way. And honestly, we've seen a lot of that this year. But one thing no one can take away from us is the fact that the Texas Rangers still are the defending World Series champs. And we're not out of it yet. Stranger things have happened. So anything can happen with this team. You never know. The Rangers could turn it around, and we'll have to see how that goes. And we'll talk a little bit about what might, transpire if they don't. So before we get into all that, don't forget to check me out on social media, Kevin Lee Frazier. That is Frazier. Don't forget to check out Texas Rangers with the Boys on social media, TX Rangers WTB. Don't forget to check out that website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
All one word.
And right here on the Sports Fluent Network on YouTube, come check out these Made for Radio faces with Made for Radio beards and Made for Radio haircuts. And all you have to do is go to your search bar on your little social media stuff in YouTube and type Texas Rangers with the Boys. Our faces will pop up. All you got to do is hit subscribe, and we'll be there. And we are really grateful to all of our new fans that have come on, or new followers, or new friends, however you want to call it, since we've joined the Sports Fluent Network. Joining me, as always, my co-host, the 300-pound manimal, a.k.a. Bull. How we doing? How we doing?
Man, it is what it is. I think you mentioned that the Rangers are the 2023 World Series champions. So that banner is going to be there forever. So we got that going for us. That's about as good as it gets. I think the Rangers are at crossroads for the season. As far as where you're at, you're well on your way to your third straight road trip or road series loss, home series loss. Now another road series loss with the Yankees. Now it looks like the trip. They've got Boston, who they didn't play very well against last weekend. And, you're kind of seeing the writing on the wall, but they're always just one step away, one win away from getting our hopes back up. So we'll just kind of continue to watch baseball this season. And, who knows what's going to happen, but they're going to play another 55 of them or so. So regardless of whether the Rangers win them or lose them, we're going to be here to talk about them. And, whether it's a win or a loss, or whether the Rangers continue to struggle down the stretch, or whether they turn things around here in the last couple of months, we'll be right here to talk about it. And if you want to see me or if you want to hear me talk about it on the social medias, or look at it, or whatever you do on the social medias, at Manimal Bull on Twitter, Instagram, Manimal300, and both Facebook and TikTok at Bull Pro. So find me on any of those platforms, and we can start talking about this Ranger baseball team. Also, don't forget that October 18th, that's a Friday night at the Martin House Brewing Company. We're going to have a big show for Matt War Pro Wrestling. We talk about them every show. They have every couple of months they do a nice thing for the city of Fort Worth, and have a big time wrestling show, and they bring out a bunch of vendors from around the city to enjoy the show and give you an opportunity to see what all Fort Worth has to offer, wrestling included. So come on out. They're going to have food on site. The Starry's Ice Cream Lady will be there, and Martin House Brewing, if it's going to be there, they'll definitely have their brews on tap for you all night long. So come on out Friday, October 18th at Martin House Brewing for the second anniversary show of Matt War Pro.
Well, now, if the Houston Astros, who are in first place right now, I did the math during that amazing commercial, stay right at 530 winning percentage. Just stay right there. And the Texas Rangers, what they need to get to that point, they need 30 wins over their next 44 games. That's what they need. They need 30 wins over 44 games. So the Rangers need to play 70 win 70% of their games to get to where the Astros are at right now. And I think that's a good bar to set if we're going to talk about being competitive. I think the Rangers timetable is getting shorter and shorter on what that's going to look like and when they're technically not going to be able to be competitive anymore. So again, like, I mean, hey, like I'm ready to start the countdown. Like, hey, we need 30 wins, like cross one off the.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And maybe we'll get like they had on Major League. We'll just put like a lady behind me, and we'll take off wins. And then you know what the last one will be.
Whoa! Yeah.
Whoa. Anyway, yeah, no. Yeah, not a lot that's shown us that the Rangers can do much more than play about 500 baseball this season, but a lot can change at any time. And like we've always said about baseball, it's basically about playing 500 baseball until you hit that stretch where you play out of your mind for a couple of weeks. And the Rangers just haven't had that week or two or three or four like they did to start the season last year, where they kind of jumped out to a really nice record, were able to play 500 baseball throughout the rest of the season, and hold on to a wild card spot down the stretch there and get into the playoffs and go from there. But this year they just haven't really sustained that stretch. They had a 5-game winning streak. Before those were against the White Sox in the midst of the second worst losing streak in the history of baseball. So, I mean, it's not been great. It hasn't looked real fantastic for the Rangers, but they're still in it. There's still a chance, but they've fallen now, to 8 games under 500, and it's going to be a tough road back if they're going to do it, but you're going to see Molly pitching here coming up on Monday. So, if nothing else, you'll start to see what 2025 holds, and, and that's kind of where if Eovaldi and Scherzer are both down for the rest of the season, or if they're going to send Scherzer's getting sent back to Texas early on this road trip. Now all it is pure speculation, but I mean, there's got to be something more if he's not with the team and rehabbing with the team and they're sending him back to Texas. So who knows? We may have unfortunately seen the last pitch that Max Scherzer will throw for a Texas in a Texas Rangers uniform. But the end of the day helped us win a world championship here, and that was what he was brought here to do. And we would have loved to have had a full season and watched him go out in a swan song and be that gritty competitor that we knew he was all season. But we kind of got to see a guy that got hurt and tried to get back, and still gritty when he was out there on the mound, but we may have seen the last of Max Scherzer as a Ranger, and maybe even Max Scherzer as a Major League Baseball player.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder, I would almost think Scherzer needs like an extended time off to get his body healthy. And by the time you get through with that, I mean, the guy's going to be 43, 44.
41 or 2, yeah.
I mean, he's going to need like some time. I mean, his body is not going to hold up for a whole year. And I don't know who's going to want to sign on a guy that may only give you 17 to 20 starts in a season, especially at the price tag that you don't want to disrespect the man either. So it's kind of a tough spot for him to be in. And really a tough spot in general, just for everybody. And I'll say this, no, we didn't get everything we had hoped out of Max Scherzer. Like, we didn't get the full package or whatnot. But I mean, I'm fully convinced that even with Jacob deGrom last year, I'm fully convinced, like, even the what we got, if we don't get what we got from him, we don't win what we won. and they were contributors. And granted, they were overpaid and under-delivered, but at the same time, they did deliver, and they were important pieces of that
doing
puzzle.
business.
Yeah. And so I will say, I don't have any – I don't want – what I don't want is the Rangers organization, front office, or fan base to get disillusioned on signing veteran free agent pitching because things didn't work out perfect. I don't want to see that because Eovaldi was also a veteran free agent pitcher. So was Andrew Heaney. So was John Gray. So was Daniel Robertson. So was Kirby Yates. Like, I just rattled off 5 guys right there, all who over-delivered on your contracts. And we still haven't seen the end of the Jacob deGrom contract yet. So again, I know how this town got after the Chan Ho Park thing. We didn't sign another free agent pitcher for like 20
years. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, let's not do that. Like, you got to do what you got to do, man. You don't stop taking risks because you got burned on 1 or 2 of them. So, best of luck to Max Scherzer. Here, let me give you go ahead. I was just going to give you the rundown of all the moves the Rangers made.
Oh yeah, throw it out there. Yeah.
So I'm going to start at the bottom because I think the last one that I'm going to name is going to be the most bigger talking point. Matt Festa purchased from AAA, which is because of another move made. Pennington called up from AAA, so Pennington's back. Grant Anderson goes back to AAA, so he's optioned down. Josh Spores goes on the 15th. These are the next 2. These are the talking points more than anything, I think. Josh Spores, 15-day IL, which I'm not sure. I don't know if we saw that coming or not. And then Brock Burke gets DFA'd. So that's where those last 2 are kind of.
Well, let's start with Spores because he's still on the team.
Mm-hmm.
He's had rotator cuff problems, shoulder soreness. So once you get to that point, my man, he's probably I would think shut down for the season, but I've been wrong with him all season. We thought that they'd give him some real time to get healthy from that rotator cuff, and they didn't. And he rushed back, and he ended up back on the 15-day DL. If you remember correctly, we thought it'd be a couple of months with the rotator cuff injury, and he was back in 15, 18 days. And velocity down. Yep. Everything was down across the board. So honestly, with Sporzy, he's thrown less than like 10 innings this season anyway. So, on to the next one.
Yeah.
On to the next year for him. Brock Burke, you know what? You saw him. He was throwing 99 miles an hour. Who cares? It doesn't miss bats.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, he was wild. He wasn't.
He's ineffective. Yeah, he's not in the strike zone. He can't hit spots.
Or if he is in the strike zone, he's like right down the middle, like
that slider he threw to Bregman that we saw the other day, where he threw an overlaying slider on top of a fastball, and Bregman wasn't at all fooled by it.
Yeah, it's interesting because now this is Yuri Rodriguez. We've DFA'd now like Yuri Rodriguez, Jonathan Hernandez, Brock Burke. These are all 3 major, were supposed to be contributors to the bullpen this year.
Brock Burke and Jonathan Hernandez in probably 2019 would have been the Rangers' 2 of the Rangers' 4 closest starting pitching prospects.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah, Burke. Yeah. They got from Tampa Bay. Then he got hurt. They also had Joe Palumbo, if you remember him, who got hurt. They brought him back as a minor leaguer. He got lit up in high A, so he's no longer in the game. And then Jonathan Hernandez, who made a splash in 2020 out of the bullpen, running that sinker about 35 inches across the plate and stuff. And then he had the injury, and he just never made it back to the guy that he was prior to that injury. And those guys were 2 of the guys that we thought were going to eat innings. The other guy, he's eating innings. It just happens to be in Kansas City.
Right. Yeah. Cole Raggins. And also, who else did we just send to Kansas City?
I don't know. There's somebody. It
Uh,
was for
Lorenzen.
yeah. It was
But
just for Pennington.
yeah. So it's just the bullpen, the young bullpen arms for the Rangers have not really panned out the way we had hoped that they would.
No, but you've got Latz, who's been okay, pretty decent. And then after that, it's like Grant Anderson, and you got to find bullpen hands. You've got to find something. We lost a full year with Church. We DFA'd Antoine Kelly. So that was another guy that you were probably trying to think of a second ago, is Antoine Kelly, who was DFA'd. A lot of the moves that the Rangers have kind of made have backfired on them this year, and Justin Slayton has been excellent for Boston, and it's hard to swallow. And Cole Ragans has become ace level for Kansas City when you could have probably got him for any one of those somewhere around that. Cole Ragans pitching, Dane Dunning might have done the same thing, so who knows? But end of the day, you win a championship, everybody's gunning for you. You got to come back and play as well as you did the last year. And really, the Rangers just haven't done that from basically day one. I think we're going to talk about that here in a second, but the Rangers nobody has really progressed. You've seen a lot of regression from a lot of guys that you felt were past that point in their careers, and they just haven't got the production, and you kind of, now it's kind of looking at like where you go from here, and who's 100% on this thing next year and who's not, and who, that's kind of where you're getting at, where the 40-man moves are going to be made, because you're going to have to put Emiliano Teota on that list, and then you're going to have to make some real decisions after him, because there's a bunch of arms that are getting close to that. So, November is going to be a real shakeup for the Rangers, and they're going to have to make some real decisions on that 40-man roster, and, we'll just kind of see.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said. I think this is like kind of a really loaded segment, because with the team, it's not just, we talked about the bullpen arms, which is one thing, I'm getting my pen and I'm getting my pad out.
Oh, going Manimal style, huh?
I got to get the pad. Well, you put some ideas on paper, because we're going to have a talk here about this 40-man roster, and I want to pull up the 40-man so I can see like who's who and what's what, and see like what we could, what the Rangers, because all right, here's the deal. All right, let's just call it what it is. All right, so at some point this team is either going to still be in contention or they're not, and if they're not going to be in contention, then at this point you got to do what you got to do to see what you got to see with some of the players that you got, especially the ones that are on the 40-man roster. I know I made a kind of a statement to you. I feel like it was better on text. Oh, that was the picture of Pudge's crotch.
I need you to stop sending me that gay porn, sir.
But I kind of, we were talking a little bit about it like earlier today, just about what we want to see with this team going forward. If things aren't going to pan out, if we get to a certain point, we need to start thinking about some of these young guys getting time at the MLB level. So my first text to you was that I'm not ready to give up on Tavares, Duran, Garcia, Lowe, or Heim. And I think Lowe and Garcia will be relatively cheap to keep around. Obviously, Garcia is under contract, but I'm talking about not trading him. Then Heim, Lowe, and Heim also are all guys that are arbitration eligible, are, pretty cheap in major league standards to keep around. So I want to see all these guys stay.
I would say, the best trade value of any of those players is probably Lowe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think. But again, I'm not ready to give up on any of those guys either. Those guys have been tremendously talented players at certain points in their career, all four of them, or all 5, 6 of them, however many we mentioned off. Heim, Garcia have been catalysts of this thing. Zeke Duran carried the offense through a Seager-less portion of the year last year. Tavares has been an above replacement level center fielder for 3 years in a row now.
Yep.
So there's good in that. There's not a lot of trade value in that though, based on what have you done for me lately.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I'm 100% with you on that. The trade value is not there, so really you're really just selling low on high leverage assets. So I'm not a big fan. I want to see all those guys come back. Now what I did say though, because I still think that Lowe has good years ahead of him. But like you had brought up too, but I'll say this: I say that we need at least 3 bats next season to compete for playing time. I also want to see Foscue, Huff, Harris, and probably another young person bat.
Ornelas.
Yeah,
Another
Ornelas.
guy. Yeah, the guys that are on that 40 man. I think also another guy that you were talking about was Sandro Fabian. It's going to be tougher for him to get opportunities just based on him not being on the 40 man. He would probably need an injury for him to get a spot. But for the most part, Huff is out of options. So they're going to have to make a decision on him at the end of spring training next year, one way or the other. So I hate to say it, but I would have loved to have seen him at some point just kind of take that spot from Kisner, but it never really manifested. So Kelly will be gone at the end of the season if I'm correct.
Yes.
I believe he was just a rental. So
Yes.
His 40-man spot will go. I mean, it'll continue to be Huff's. So and then Harris is getting to a point now where next year will be his 3rd year on the 40 man, and he still hasn't broken the AAA barrier. So I would like to see him play some. His power has been a tad bit better the last couple of weeks at Round Rock. So maybe some of that power is coming in. He's a big kid. He's been playing center field as of late, and the Rangers have been kind of looking for somebody to catch some of those center field innings with Tavares struggling. So maybe an opportunity for him at some point in this last month and a half. Ornelas is versatile but I think his biggest problem is the fact that Josh Smith, with Josh Young being back, has really put a damper on any kind of playing time that he would be able to find. So he would probably need an injury as well. And then, is that it? I think that's it, right? Huff, Harris.
Yep.
Fabian,
these are guys
Ornelas.
these are guys that are on the 40 man, and I'm just.
And then Fabian, who's been overperforming kind of at AAA this year. So lots of doubles, lots of contact. So yeah, I could see him maybe if someone does if they have an injury somewhere that'll be like season ending and they put him on the 60, they can get Fabian a roster spot until the season's over. But I would say that Sandro Fabian, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion only, I don't believe that he's a big league baseball player.
Well, and I think he probably is another this year's version of, but this year's kind of version of Elier.
I think that's kind of that same mold. It was kind of Elier never really got the big league shot that he got was short-lived, and they caught a lot of scrutiny for him being on the 40-man roster and taking up a spot at that time. So I get it. And Fabian kind of that same similar vibe.
Well, so here's what I got. So I got 20 slots out here. And again, it's more related to like this year than next year. But like what maneuvers if the Rangers start moving want to move some things around to to get some starts or get some playing time from some of these guys that are now. Mark Church is back healthy, correct?
Yes, Mark Church is pitching for Hickory right now in a rehab.
Right. Okay. So he's pitching. So 2025 Rangers. So here's where I'm at right now. 2025 Rangers. I got Heim at catcher, Lowe at first, Simeon Seager, Young, Garcia, Tavares, Langford. And then on the DH, I got Smith. And again, this is, can be worked however. Carter on the bench, Duran on the bench, Carter as your outfield, fourth outfielder, Duran as your can do whatever kind of guy. That's all I've got. Now, one of my statements I made on off air, and I want to make it on air, is that like Simeon and Seager are the only guys like right now, like that I think that I've penciled in that are like that's their spot. Everybody else, like you need depth. You need depth to be able to maneuver whatever. You need good players that can contribute at every position, period. And whoever's contributing is who needs to be getting that playing time. So when I said we need 3 bats or we need 3 players, when you look at the bench, you got 4, maybe 13 offensive players, 13 pitchers. They can maneuver that a little bit, but that leaves 2 more.
12, and you can only have so many in your bullpen.
Yeah, so I've got 2 bench slots open. So I'm going to leave that for now. And then at the bottom of
you'll have to have a backup catcher.
Right. And that's why I leave that. That's a spot that's like there. But then also at the bottom of that list, I just put 20, obviously it could be more than 20 position players and more than 20 pitchers, but help me keep number. But I put Huff, Harris, Foscue, and Ornelas on there. Pitching wise next year, we're looking at DeGrom, Molly, Dunning, Bradford. I feel like there's one more in there. Is that it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's it.
Yeah, so I mean,
unless Eovaldi opts into his player option, but I think that he probably will test the waters before he gets too old.
And so you're probably looking at Latz coming back next year.
Latz will be back for sure. Probably Colwyn. Let's see what else they got on that 40 man. That's
because I got the bottom down here. I've got Wynn, Church, Light and Whiter. White and Whiter. White and Lighter.
Spores.
You got Spores. All right.
Then you have a mutual option with Robertson, so he has to agree to come back.
Yeah, so we don't have our 8th inning guy. We don't have a closer because Yates is not signed through next year.
He's a free agent. Yeah,
he's a free agent.
And
so
I could have sworn he signed a 2-year deal, but hell if I know. I mean, it doesn't say that on most of his baseball contract pages. So who knows? But I could have sworn he had either a mutual or a club or some kind of option on that back end, but. I can't.
Both of those guys. Robertson's going to get the same, probably get the same thing that he got last year. So I don't see why not. And so again,
Pennington will be back next year on the 40. He's going to get every opportunity.
Like Grant Anderson.
He may end the season here, but he may be a non-tendered. They may non-tender him a contract. I mean, or DFA him after the season and leave him off of the 40-man, especially with the idea that they're going to have to make decisions on Acker, and then Teodo's got to go on the IL, on the 40-man. You got to put Corniel back on at the end of the season. You've got to put Mark Church, all those guys that are on the 60 right now all have to go back on. So, I think that he could end up being like a casualty at the end, but we'll just have to wait and see. They've got guys that are coming off. I mean, like we say, Yates, Leclerc, a couple others in that bullpen that won't be back. And then rotation-wise, Heaney won't be back. Urena, if Urena's back, it may be on a minor league deal. Dunning will be back. John Gray will probably not be back.
Yep.
And then in the out, I can't imagine Jankowski or Grossman being back. So you've got lots of spots that are going to come.
Let me tell you what I got. You ready? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pitching positions open. And we've got a backup catcher and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 position player available. And what we haven't even filled, just with the players that we've got, we haven't filled the 2 extra, the backup catcher or another position player on the 26 man. And then on the 26 man, we haven't filled the number 5 starter, 2 relief pitchers, a setup, or a closer. So you got a ton of openings here. And you've got players that are, on this 40-man roster. Like, I think Corniel's a non-factor next year. So you just –
Well, he's got to be on the 40, man.
Yeah, but he's going to be a non-factor playing. I'm talking about guys.
Well, he'll be a non-factor 40-man guy after February, whatever.
To go on the
because he can go on the 60-day as spring training opens because he just had Tommy John. He should miss all of next year.
Yeah,
I can't see a situation where he pitches. You know where I could? Okay, I take that back.
Maybe
I could see him pitching in the Arizona Fall League next year to get back, throwing an inning or 2. No big deal because you got extra roster spots for pitchers.
Right. Yep. So I think what I like about this scenario right now is that the Rangers have a ton of flexibility with what they've got. And then again, Chafin's he falls off.
Chafin will fall off, yeah.
Carson Coleman's on the 40 on that.
He'll have to be put back on.
Yep, and he'll be getting healthy probably.
He should be. Yeah, I would say that he should be ready for spring training. I wouldn't be shocked if he pitches in the Arizona Fall League this year.
And so you're probably not seeing Festa or Garabito come back.
No, probably not.
He falls off.
And I wouldn't be so overly sure that they don't re-sign Heaney.
I wouldn't be either because we've gotten a really nice.
He's really been good. I mean, he's been as good. I mean, he's polarizing like Leclerc and those guys.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's been really good here in his time here.
And then now let's bring up Daniel Robert, who's also on the 40-man. Or the 40, yeah, he got put on the 40-man.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked that if he falls off
I wouldn't
after the season. But I wouldn't be shocked to see them bring him back on a minor league deal.
And so what I'm doing here is I'm kind of putting stars by those guys that we think could possibly not get tendered and then get brought back. Scherzer's going off, Urena's going off, Owen White's on, Cole Winn will be on still. Yates comes off.
Winn will come back on.
Winn will come back. I put him on there. And then Carson Kelly falls off. You got Huffenheim coming back next year. As long as they sign Heim in the arbitration, which would be insane.
I couldn't see them non-tendering Heim because he had 2 pretty good seasons in a row prior to this season. And I want to give him the benefit of the doubt with everything that's been going on in his personal life and all of that.
I'm quoting Evan Grant that he said that he's heard doubts that they might not tender some of these arbitration guys. I've heard that's because they're really that trying to be that tight on their I just think the uproar from the fan base, if they don't re-sign, give Hyman. And again, I mean, their years haven't been that great, so you might not get that much kickback from the fans, but I just think it would be a bad move. Duran, Foscue, Young, Lowe, Ornelas, Seegers, Simeon, Josh Smith, all those guys are coming back. Carter, Garcia, Grossman will drop off. Harris, we already talked about. Jankowski, Langford, and so far. So we covered them all. Now, the guys that I put stars by really are Anderson and Robert. So you could even consider those like open.
I would say probably they'll at least be on the roster through spring training next year.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they need those roster spots for a free agent signing and they have to make a decision. Oh, we're going to go out and sign a free agent starting pitcher is it Grant Anderson? Is it Daniel Robert? And then you would DFA him there. Or you would, I mean, like, I think those guys might have a tad bit of trade value, maybe some international signing or a low-level prospect.
So let's talk about this year, because if the Rangers are going to have any of these guys play this year, I mean, I definitely think Ornelas could play. We're talking about if the Rangers get out of I could definitely see Ornelas, Foscue, even Harris and Huff. All those guys to me are realistic players that could play on the team this year, or they could see some time. And then as far as the pitching, we already see Pennington got brought up. Anderson and Robert, I wouldn't be shocked if those guys play a little bit more. You know that Spores is on the IL, Latz is on the IL, Coleman wins. So really the only guys left that are pitchers on the 40-man in the minors right now is Church, White, and Leiter. So my thoughts are this is my question, is like, would they be willing to, if these guys like Anderson and Robert, and then whoever else that's not coming back next year, would they be willing to DFA those players in order to put maybe a guy like Teodo or Acker or that?
Well, now it also depends on where they are at the end of the thing with the 40-man roster too. If there's no need, if you're at 28 guys on your 40-man roster, you can put as many guys on there, and then you can make decisions as you go, and then go from there. And now, if you're at 39 or 40 players and you're going to sign a player and you need the spot, Anderson and Robert are probably the first two on it. I would think maybe third would be Dustin Harris, just in the sense that
I thought
next
the
year he'll be a third.
same thing.
Or even possibly Huff, just in the fact that he doesn't have options left. But I don't think any of those are like options they want to do. I think they're going to be okay where they could even sign a handful of players this year and not have to make too many option or roster moves with the young guys.
I agree. So now here's the question, and I'll take it. I'll use this as a nice little segue into our down on the farm deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So give me one, maybe two, if it's up to you, wild card players that, let's forget how we talked about. The Rangers do have some maneuverability here with this 40-man roster. So give me one or two guys, at least one pitcher, at least one position player that you would want to see that's not on the 40-man roster right now, that, forget how it's going to happen, but who is a guy you'd like to see at the major league level this year? Let's say the Rangers aren't competitive down the stretch and they're going to bring up a young player to get some experience at the big league level that aren't on the 40-man. Who are your two?
Pitching wise, I kind of would like to see what Grant Wolfram has.
Wolfram.
Grant Wolfram. I'd like to see what he has. And, position player wise, that's not on the 40-man.
Yeah.
There just isn't really anybody that I think is just going to change anything.
Yeah.
There really isn't. I know that sounds like harsh as hell, but really the closest thing maybe would be Blaine Krim, and he's a 27-year-old DH outfielder that just happens to be on a heater right now.
Right. No, and he's been able to hit. I mean, he's hit.
Yeah, he's always hit.
Yeah, he's always hit. All right.
He's a below average first baseman and a below average third base. Anywhere they've put him, he's been really below average. But yeah, I guess if I had to say, that's kind of where I'm at. Just all the other guys are really young. Maybe Sandro Fabian too. That's another guy, but I'll let you. You probably had guys, and you were going to say him, and then I just ruined it for you or something.
No. I was going to say Fabian, but I'm going to go. I'm going to go like I'm going to hurt my credibility here and say stuff that I want to see that I probably know won't happen. Because I was going to say Fabian, but he's not risky enough. I would say my wild card players that I would love to see this year, like play. I got 2 pitchers. The first one would be Dane Acker. I would love to see him come up and pitch. I mean, if you're going to keep him and put him on the 40-man next year, why not dump one of these players that ain't going to be here, get him up here, and let's get him some big league experience. And I'm going to give you a quick caveat here, y'all. If you don't know, I didn't know this until this year, I think, or last year, that there is a negative for the team to bring these guys up because it increases service time and it can reduce the amount of years they have controllable on them.
Yeah, I think you're okay after September 1st. So rosters expand 2 players or whatever.
So I want to see Acker and I want to see Teodo, because the reason I say Teodo is because I believe he will play on this team next year. So the sooner we get him up here and get him facing MLB pitching, even if it's like just 10, 15 innings, even in small spurts, I would love to see him what he looks like at the level.
I would like to see him get a handful of starts in Round Rock for sure.
One more.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a hitter?
One more. No, I'm pitching Kumar Rocker just because I'm being selfish.
I was also going to say a guy that I wouldn't mind seeing is Ryan Garcia.
Garcia, yeah.
That's another guy
too, I'm being greedy again.
Wise. I like Rocker too. But I feel like a lot of the guys in their bullpen right now, I watched Festus today and I saw about enough Festus for the rest of my life. So, I wouldn't mind seeing
who else is Alstrom? I wouldn't mind seeing
Robbie Alstrom. I wouldn't mind.
Him and Wolfram are kind of similar, 1A, 1B to me.
Well, Alstrom throws a little harder.
Yeah, both of the guys are big old.
Speaking of all those minor league cats.
Hold on, I got my position player. One more guy.
Oh, yeah,
position player guy that I would like to see. Why am I not the guy that's getting really good at AA right now? Is it
Osuna?
Yes.
Alejandro Osuna?
I would love to see Osuna get a crack at it.
I think you're going to be quite shocked at the appearance of Osuna when you see him.
He's not a big guy.
He is a tiny fella.
Yeah.
Tiny.
Yeah. Well, remember who else was pretty small, but he was really impressive was Ronald Acuna. Louis Angel Acuna wasn't very.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And,
he's a pretty
another couple of second-ish generation type guys. So.
Well, this was a lot of fun. Honestly, probably going to be more fun than these box scores.
We're going to have to roll through them real quick because we got to get out of here.
Well, let me tell you about this, our exclusive content real quick, Down on Farm with the Boys. We cover all things Rangers minor league. We just got in the bag numbers 30 through 21 in our most recent episode. It's just $1.99 a month. You just go to Spotify, hit that subscribe button, and then you make us your one-stop shop for all things Rangers organization-wide. The reason we have all these names at the top of on the top of our heads, and the reason we're talking about all these guys playing is because we've been talking about them all year. And these are a lot of familiar names for our farmhands who subscribe to our exclusive content. So go check it out. You can also go to our website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
All one word.
Yeah, that all one word. And there we go. So go check it out. I'm telling you right now, like it's a lot of fun, and we had a blast on the show today. So most recent episode will be up
30 through 21. 30 through 21 on
30 through 21. It's up there, and we got a special fan top 5.
Yeah. So if you wanna listen to the show, send us your top 5 prospects for the Texas Rangers organization. We will read them on the show next week because we've got one more week to read top 5s, and then after that, we won't have time on the top 40 numbers 10 through 1 because we will have our honorable mentions that didn't quite make the top 40 this year. So, anyways, it was a gross thing.
Game one was.
Yeah, game 1. The Yankees score entirely too many runs for Carlos Rodon. Because that dude's he is like the okayest of all okays.
Yep.
Like another team would have punished him on Saturday, but fortunately for him, he caught the Rangers, who, when they get the bases loaded, they just fold like a tent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he wasn't very good. His location was trash. They should have had him out of the ball game by the end of the third inning, just like Eovaldi on the other end. But the difference was the Yankees were getting those timely hits and doing what they needed to do whenever they got those runners on base, and the Rangers just weren't. And they had lots of opportunities, scrounged a lot of them, and they didn't have a ton of hits. I think they only had like 5 hits for the game, but they had walks, and they had 5 walks, and they had a couple of hit by pitches or something like that. I don't know, but maybe not. No, I think just the 5 walks. But Rodon isn't exactly a guy that walks a whole lot of people, but he was kind of all over the place on Saturday morning. But the Rangers just didn't hit enough to win that game anyways, and probably the poorest Nathan Eovaldi start of the season. It's not shocking that it comes out today that he's going to miss a trip through the rotation, his next trip through the rotation. So the Rangers on Thursday, Wednesday, they'll probably need a spot start from maybe Jack Leiter, maybe Owen White, depending on who's pitching the best right now. Maybe it'll be one of them young guys that we just talked about that, hey, couldn't do any worse or whatever. But I imagine that it'll be Leiter, White. So that's where I would imagine it would be. But Burke did everything he could yesterday or on Saturday to get himself DFA'd, and I'll be damned if we didn't wake up to it on Sunday morning. He was throwing the ball hard. Everybody was like, "Oh, he's throwing
mad."
Hard,
He was throwing mad. He was like, you could tell he was visibly.
Well, that didn't work for him either.
Well, remember, he punched a wall earlier and got himself on the IL. So I think he's a really pissed off, frustrated guy right now because he was.
Well, he does have a 9.22 ERA, so that'll do it.
And where's 99 miles an hour been your whole career?
Well, that's a fair question. I mean, he is a guy that was coming back from a shoulder injury the last couple of years, and you would think that he'd be more successful with the extension that he gets and the, but it doesn't look like the off-speed plays very well, and it looks like most guys are seeing that off-speed pretty well. And we saw it last week with at the Houston game that we went to when he pitched. Good on Grant Anderson for coming out there throwing 3 2/3, and what he threw like 57 or 50.
He had to get through. Like to get through Judge and Soto and all that.
So good on him to get those innings for him and kind of keep that thing kind of to a minimum. I think he gave up a home run, but you face Murderer's Row a couple of times through as a relief pitcher, you're probably
he got Chisholm got him,
but he only gave up the one hit. He had a couple of walks. Struck out 3 batters. I thought Grant Anderson, that was the best I've seen him probably all season.
Well, I'll say this. Let's close that one out.
I'm going to clean it real quick. Yeah, Carlos Rodon gets the win 13-7 with a 4.18, which prompts me to believe that the Yankees score way too many runs for Carlos Rodon. And Nate Eovaldi takes the loss and probably his worst start of the season this year for the Rangers. But he falls 8-6 with a 3.75 ERA. And they turned right back around and did it again on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, Rangers come out in the second half of the doubleheader and will go on to score 16 runs over 2 games against the Yankees for the next 2 to make these next 2 games really competitive. The Rangers, the game was pretty mundane, and then the Rangers really jumped on the Yankees, jumped on Garrett Cole initially, and then Weaver in the 6th inning, and really Corey Seager, as kind of all year, he's kind of been the only person who seems to be somewhat resilient to this funk that the Rangers have been in, because he's had a few hot streaks, and he's in the middle of one right now because that one he hit off of Weaver.
Well, don't forget that Seager started the season very poorly, so he had his run too. They only got the 1 run off of Cole. I think that was Cole's best performance since he's come back off of the IL. But,
he didn't look that good even in that game. He didn't look that good.
No, I thought the Rangers kind of let him off the hook a couple of times early in that game and had a chance to really separate themselves earlier than they did. But Weaver had a bunch of trouble. He got himself into a bases loaded jam, couldn't find the plate at all against Kelly. And then I was pretty stoked after the Kelly walk and the Josh Smith sac fly that they were going to put 2 on the board and get themselves a little bit of separation. But Corey Seager does what Corey Seager does and hits his 25th home run of the season. That pushes it out to 6-1. And Leody Taveras, he had a couple of RBIs there in the 7th on a pretty sharply hit double into the gap there. And then Carson Kelly drove him around there to get that 9th run. And they needed him because, man, Giancarlo Stanton hit that ball a ton. Jazz Chisholm got him a good one off of Garabito, but they were in a position to where those didn't hurt him. Garabito closes it out, and the Rangers, they get a 9-4 win over the Yankees on Saturday night. The Rangers, they got good pitching from Cody Bradford, who that was probably, 7 Ks over 5 innings and just the 1 run. So he's starting to kind of find his control and starting to command the strike zone a little bit better. And, for as bad as Sunday it was, Leclerc was pretty good on Saturday night. And Garabito did a good job in the little bit that they needed him for. He did give up the couple of home runs, and then Robertson was Robertson, right?
How'd you come in? Robertson, you kind of felt a little bit of tension starting to build there.
Yeah, there was no need. Robinson. Yeah, there was no need for that tension. So the Rangers, they scored runs, they got things done. Let's see. Seager was 2 for 5, had 3 RBIs. Josh Smith was 2 for 5. Simeon had a base knock. Young had a base knock. Langford had a couple of knocks. Lowe had a couple of knocks. Dolly had a really nice doubleheader.
He had a good weekend.
Taveras had a pretty nice second game of that doubleheader, and we kind of started to see a little something from Carson Kelly. Had a couple of RBIs. I know one of them was a walk, but you got to put yourself in that position to get there and get that run across. The Rangers score 9 runs. They win 9-4. Cody Bradford gets the win. 4-0 with a 3.60 ERA.
Nice start from Bradford, man. Working through that lineup twice and coming out of there with only 1 earned run. That is, especially because he's a lefty. He's going up there against Judge, man. Like Judge just eats lefties for dinner, man. So the fact that he got out of there without any real major damage, again, like that's impressive. God, Aaron Judge is a hard out, dude.
Yeah, and he got him a couple of times too.
He's a hard out, dude. Yeah. Like he's a lot better of a hitter than you think he is.
The Yankees are pretty dangerous when Giancarlo Stanton's a tough out too, and he's been a tough out for a couple of weeks now for them, and you're starting to see those power numbers come back in for him, and now you're starting to think maybe this is a cat that can get to 500 home runs again.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy, honestly, Stanton has all the tools.
Luke Weaver too. Luke Weaver takes that loss. He's had a pretty good season for the Yankees, but he wasn't very good on Saturday night in the second game of that doubleheader. Rangers win 9-4, and you feel like maybe there's some momentum. I didn't really feel super confident even after that win.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid anymore, brother.
Yeah, and I thought Heaney pitched really good on Sunday. I thought he battled really hard when he didn't have his best stuff at all. He gave up an unearned run in that first inning that came back to bite him in the ass, and the intentional walk to Aaron Judge came across the plate, and Giancarlo Stanton hit a good pitch out of the ballpark, and maybe if it's anybody else in baseball, that ball doesn't leave the yard, but it happened to be the guy that can hit it out of the ballpark. And
it reminded me of a Corey Seager type home run where he squatted to hit it, but
he was down low,
so much bat speed. There's a stat I saw: nobody swings harder than Giancarlo Stanton does in all of baseball. That's a big, athletic, freakish person. And if he's healthy, he's as good of a power hitter as anybody in baseball.
And it just another case of Leclerc not getting the job done when they really needed it. And I saw about enough Matt Festa
good.
for the
Well,
season. I'm good on him. Andrew
Andrew
Chafin didn't have
Chafin.
the good stuff today, but at least
I'm gonna
he was
okay.
mad about it. At least he was
Right.
upset about it. At least it
All
looked like
right.
he cared that he gave up some runs.
Thank you. Well, and to be honest, like so did Leclerc. I've never seen Leclerc look mad ever because
Because
he
he
always
just
kind of
threw
has that half
one of the
smile
best
face.
pitches and got a swing at it.
Well, he was mad, and then Chafin being mad, but normally, and again, like normally I give Leclerc the business on this, but that pitch to Stanton was a tough pitch. I think we got to hang the business on Chafin this time. 2 home runs in that third of an inning,
Yeah,
and when
didn't
the
get
Rangers lose
anybody
by
out in
2,
the 8th.
and when you lose by 2, especially when we saw the late inning heroics. All right, now full disclosure. I swear I passed out and fell asleep when the game was 7-1. So tell me, what did you see? Tell me what happened from the 5th or whatever the 6th inning on.
Well, so you said it was 7-1,
I
6-1.
Yeah, it
Because
was like
the Rangers had a ground ball double play that Jazz Chisholm. I don't know. It didn't work out real great, and somehow they scored a couple of runs off of it. It just was a flubbish kind of thing from Chisholm, and it ended up being 2 runs. And then you got the back-to-back Soto and Judge home runs off of Chafin.
mm-hmm.
And then in the top of the 8th, Nate Lowe hit a home run. And then Leody Taveras gets on in front of Carson Kelly, and Carson Kelly hits a home run. That drops it to 8-6, or that cuts it to 8-6. In the 9th inning, the Rangers, they got a 2-out walk from Wyatt Langford.
Okay.
And then Nate Lowe walks. And then Adolis Garcia dumps a ball into center field. And the Rangers had second and third with 2 outs and Leody Taveras at the plate. I think we talked about this off the air. Holmes couldn't hit the broadside of a barn all afternoon in his outing. And then all of a sudden he drops a breaking pitch in that's on the border, and he gets the call instead of Leody Taveras, who took a good pitch.
Right.
And should have ran the count out to 3-0. Instead, it 2-2 gets it back into the count there, and Taveras grounds out to get out of the inning. But it is what it is. The Rangers. I thought today was the first time I've seen real fight in them all season.
Man,
I thought
16
they
runs
were
in 2 games is really actually probably the first time I can remember in a while that they've scored 6+ in 2 games in a row.
Yeah,
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it till I see it.
No, I'm not buying it at all. I'm not buying just yet. They've got a couple of good pitchers that they're going to see in Boston this weekend. So I'm not buying it. Real quick to finish that thing out. Stroman gets the win. Heaney gets the loss. Holmes gets the save. The Rangers will be in Boston tonight. Tyler Mahle making the start. He'll be opposed by Brian Bello from the Red Sox. So interesting pitching matchup. Fenway Park, it'll be fun. So looking forward to that. It's a 6:10 start. It's going to be on ESPN for anybody that's not in the DFW marketplace that wants to watch the game.
All right, so we'll be back tomorrow. We'll give you a little Jacob deGrom update we didn't get to today. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about that. We'll also talk about what has to go right for this team in order for them to be competitive down the stretch. So we'll be back tomorrow. Don't forget to check us out on social media, TX Rangers, WTB. Don't forget to check out that website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
All one word.
And you can subscribe to our exclusive content there called Down on the Farm with the Boys, where we cover all things Rangers minor league. Thanks for checking us out on YouTube here on the Sports Fluent Network. For the 300-pound manimal, this is your boy Kev. We are Texas Rangers with the Boys. We're signing out.